Hi and welcome back to Film Pickle. This is Pushkar Rajesh Shirke
And I'm Rohan Nag.
and today we are discussing, obviously, the Oscars. Every time the Oscars come up, we all get into a downloading mode and download all the movies that have been nominated, and then we try to pass our own judgment on what we think might just clinch the Oscars. And our ratings are biased as they are, but they're also appreciative of what the skill or the talent or whatever the movie has shown.
In this Oscar countdown, we will be having categories and we'll go step by step with every category, which is a separate kind of a video. So if you don't like any of the categories, you can just click here, go to the next category that you like, and don't just leave, just go to the category you want to see.
So we start with the best original screenplay. Okay, we went through all the movies, one of which was insufferably bad and is one of the nominees. We'll go through the nominees one by one. There's Birdman, The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. There is Boyhood. There is Foxcatcher. There is The Grand Budapest Hotel, and there is Nightcrawler. What do you think, Rohan?
I think I'll start with the one that I liked the most, which would be the Grand Budapest Hotel. And now the best part about Grand Budapest Hotel is actually its screenplay, how sharply it's written, how well the dialogues are portrayed across, and by God, those characters are really good. And I think that comes from a very good screenplay.
Yeah, in terms of Birdman, I think here it's a tough fight between Birdman and Grand Budapest Hotel, because Birdman is entirely dependent on screenplay, on how well the script has been written for screen. The movie entirely depends on it. There's nothing else in the movie. So in that sense, Birdman is a very strong contender for this thing. Boyhood I found extremely boring, too far stretched, no high points as such, and no, I don't think it deserves to win.
You know what? I want to say something about Boyhood.
Yeah.
If you're done.
Yeah.
Boyhood getting a nomination for the original screenplay is actually a travesty.
Yeah.
I don't think it has a screenplay. I think they basically went like, there's a kid who's 9-year-old, do something and I'll just record you. Some random shit is going on. He is going to a Harry Potter convention. Is that a fucking screenplay at all? Do you?
No. It is a screenplay, but it's an adaptive screenplay. It's more in a documentary style. I don't know why it's nominated here. Anyways, Foxcatcher, yeah, interesting screenplay, but Oscar worthy? No, I don't think so. The Grand Budapest Hotel, yes, this is the one my heart believes will win because it was brilliant. The way he's mimicked the old French cinema style, the way old literature was written, he's mimicked a classic, and he's done it perfectly well. As in, I couldn't have imagined this movie better written for screen, and he's done it. As in, you can actually read the literature in the script lines, in the movie lines, in the way it's portrayed, and my heart goes out for Grand Budapest Hotel winning this. The last nominee, Nightcrawler, I think it's a great indie genre movie, but I don't think it would clinch an Oscar, honestly, because it lacks the kind of highs and lows that you want in a script, on a screenplay technically, but it's brilliant, no doubt about it. But sorry, no Oscar for Nightcrawler. So the competition is between Grand Budapest Hotel and Birdman, and technically I think Birdman wins it, but my heart goes out to Grand Budapest Hotel winning it.
You know what, this year I think most of the competition is between Birdman and some other film.
Yeah, Birdman I think this year is the most creatively genius movie you can look at. Birdman, entertainment wise, is not such a great movie, but technically, creatively, I think the movie is a sheer piece of genius.
But coming back to Nightcrawler, I disagree a little bit on you, with you on that. Nightcrawler did have its highs, it did have its lows. Where it completely let me down was the ending, where it kind of went flat.
At the point where you want the highest high or the lowest low to be, it's a plateau, and you're wondering like what the fuck happened. So it doesn't clinch it. Simple as that. Great movie, brilliant script, brilliant acting, but doesn't clinch an original screenplay Oscar. If it does, I would be shocked.
Yes.
So that's 2 votes for Birdman from us and 1 vote for Grand Budapest Hotel. So that makes Birdman the original screenplay of the year. So Oscar for original screenplay goes to Birdman.
That's our prediction of it.
Alright, that's it. And that brings us to adapted screenplay, the best adapted screenplay of the year. Nominees are American Sniper, Imitation Game, Inherent Vice, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. Rohan.
You know what? I'm going to start with the one I liked best among all of this, and which would be the Imitation Game, just screenplay wise, not as a film wise. Okay. Now, Imitation Game has a screenplay which is really well written. It covers the periods pretty well. But having said that, I don't think it's a winner.
Yeah, I would agree on that. I think it's the editing of Imitation Game that actually kills the screenplay.
But getting a word in sideways, the experts are saying that this is the top contender for the winner. Let's see if they're right or wrong. I feel it's not gonna win.
Yeah, I think in terms of adapted screenplay, American Sniper did quite an amazing job converting it from the book to the screenplay. As in, everything that is there in the book is there in an improved version in the movie. So, if you're looking at adapted screenplay, adapted purely for screen, I think American Sniper does a mighty good job. Inherent wise, I don't know. I haven't seen.
Me neither.
The Theory of Everything. Now, this is another book that was turned into a very good movie. So, it is a strong contender. But Theory of Everything, Redmayne's actor Redmayne, the actor, he actually takes away the entire performance of the movie. It
Right.
literally revolves around him. I don't see too much scope for actual screenplay being there apart from his acting.
You know what? In the difference between the Theory of Everything and Imitation Game, both are based on geniuses. Both are a kind of period pieces. You know what the thing is about Theory of Everything? It doesn't show anything good about that guy's life. I mean, it doesn't show his achievements. It doesn't show why he's such a big nuclear physicist.
But that's what the book is. Now the book concentrates around his life. It does not concentrate around
It does.
him, the scientist.
But that
as
would
such.
be my reason why it may not win.
Yeah, so the Theory of Everything may not win. In terms of screenplay, what my heart goes out for is actually Whiplash. Because the movie is screenplay wise perfect. Every movement of the camera in the movie has a reason to be. Like, there is no shot which is just randomly taken and put into edit and fixed. Every shot in the movie has a purpose. Even a shot as simple as a chair being thrown onto a blank wall has a purpose. You see a chair being thrown onto a blank wall, you wonder what the hell happened, and then you see the actor rising up from that hollow and you realize that it was thrown at him. Every scene is crafted so well. It is purely for the purpose of delivering the message of the movie. So I think Whiplash might just clinch best adapted screenplay. Okay.
Look, I would like if Whiplash wins, but realistically, I think American Sniper is going to
Yeah, I also think like American Sniper has the higher chance of winning it, but given the American propaganda put into the movie, I really hope it does not win. So that's what I'm saying. Technically, American Sniper should get it, but my heart goes out to Whiplash to win it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So by our heart, it's Whiplash that wins it. By our minds, I think it's American Sniper that would win it. So that's about for.
Or the Imitation Game. That's what it might win.
Okay. So that brings us at a tie on adapted screenplay. So you guys tell us, what do you think? Who would win best adapted screenplay and why? What are your reasons for supporting it? So that's it. Our perspective on adapted screenplay is tied up. So you help us out. Comment, like, let us know what you think about it.
And of
we'll
course,
sort it out.
you can do that before 22nd Feb. Otherwise, it's
Otherwise, we just refer to the Oscars and tell you which one won.
And this section is about visual effects. And the contenders for the Oscars are Captain America the Winter Soldier, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Guardians of the Galaxy, Interstellar, and X-Men Days of the Future Past. I personally think Dawn is going to win.
Yeah, my heart goes out to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes too, because it's not just crash, boom, bang, and a lot of special effects. It's special effects that serve into the movie. Like, it's special effects that play on the emotion that the movie is trying to convey, and that it adds to the soul of the movie, and that for me makes it a much more powerful movie in terms of special effects than just adding a great explosion, showing a big universe, and showing a big solar system or whatever that could be.
You know what?
Yes, Interstellar did a great thing by bringing in the way a black hole looks like, and breaking the boundaries of science to make that and all. Yeah, great shit. Kudos to you for that. But cinematically, what Dawn of the Planet of the Apes has achieved through VFX, I think none of the movies on the list have, no matter how spectacular the effects may be. So I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes clinches it for best visual effects this year.
You know what? I think it's a three-way race between Interstellar, Planet of the Apes, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'll give you a reason for all three. Interstellar, as he said, has done a lot for science. And the Oscars being a very technical category, this is a very technical award. They might consider that because they have depicted the correct depiction of a black hole first time in history of mankind. So they might take that into consideration. You never know. These guys are very damn technical. why Dawn of the Planet of the Apes does have a chance, because as he also said, the emotions which matter, the entire ape's eyes and everything, those are all VFX and they make you buy the film. And that's the same reason Guardians of the Galaxy might also win, because Rocket Raccoon does not exist, neither does Groot. And how much do we love Baby Groot dancing? And that is a visual effect. So it's a very difficult three-way race between all three of them.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy has a lot of stuff going for it. Okay, almost the entire movie is CG. Okay, almost the entire movie is VFX.
Absolutely.
So in terms of quantity, Guardians of the Galaxy would kill it any day. But what has it truly contributed to the film? That would be my question. Yeah, exactly. Not much. Even if I saw Guardians of the Galaxy as a cartoon film, I would enjoy it. But would I enjoy watching Dawn of the Planet of the Apes as much as a cartoon film? I don't think so. Until you see those emotions in those eyes, those wrinkles coming over and all, I don't think that movie would clinch it in any other way than the way it has actually been made. And I think that is why Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes clinches it this year.
You know what's funny? There is a 1974 cartoon called Planet of the Apes.
And see how flat it is.
It is really bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. So the VFX in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes has achieved what no other medium could have achieved, and that is why my vote goes for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
And mine's for Guardians of the Galaxy. We are completely discounting X-Men as well as Captain America. Both are generic superhero films. We have seen better in Iron Man, Avengers.
Yeah.
I don't think they stand any chance. I will be very damn surprised if either of those win.
I think X-Men Days of Future Past was...
Actually, it was bad.
Yeah, I know.
Effects
We've seen
were not
better
good.
effects in Avengers already. And so what
Except for the guy running around the room scene. That's
yeah,
good.
that one scene. For one scene, I can't give it the Oscar. Come on, that would be like. Bleh.
Well, Oscars have been known to do that before, but let's see.
Yeah, because some people on the panel don't even see the entire movie. They just see one scene, what they have been shown, and they're like, oh yes. And then there's lobbying, of course.
Of course.
So I really hope this year the Oscar panel actually sees all the movies they're supposed to vote for.
So basically, it's 3 Marvel movies against the other 2.
Yeah.
Alright.
So that's it. Again, we have a mixed opinion on this one, and let's see who gets it. What do you think? Who wins the best special effects this year? Let us know. Put in your comment and make your vote count. And now we come to the achievement in sound mixing. Who gets our Oscar for sound mixing this year? Your nominees are American Sniper, Birdman, Interstellar, Unbroken, and Whiplash. Okay, let us see the strengths of all. American Sniper was alright. Birdman was great because the camera is constantly moving around from room to outdoor to indoor, and the sound is always following exactly. It's lowering, raising, crossing. You never feel out of place. No sound in the entire film feels out of place. So it's brilliantly done. Okay, the sound carries the camera movement throughout. Okay, then you have Unbroken, which is okay. You have Whiplash, which is good but nothing too great in terms of sound mixing.
I would actually disagree with you on that a little bit, because Whiplash is completely dependent on the drumming and the sound
Whiplash
sequences.
is entirely dependent on a drumming. There's not much for you to mix and show around.
But it did get a nomination.
Yeah, it is great, no doubt. The drumming sequences and all are brilliantly put in. You can never tell where it's the actor playing, where it's the drummer actually playing, when you're shifting from what to what. It's brilliantly done, but would it manage to beat Interstellar at sound mixing? I think not. So Interstellar is, I think, a unanimous vote for winning sound mixing this year, because the movie is literally carried by sound mixing. Whether it's plain sand falling, or a sandstorm, or the screech of a tire, or the whiz of a rocket ship, or the sheer silence between action sequences, it is brilliant. I can still get that when he's thinking the revolving.
Where the entire
the
scene
pod,
where
the pod.
the space station.
Yeah, the space station is revolving and he's connecting the pod to it. Yeah, that score is so brilliantly mixed. You're going between vacuum and no vacuum, vacuum and more, and they're played between silence and sound so beautifully. It just clinches you and keeps you there. It's one of the most gripping scenes I have seen in my entire life, purely because of sound mixing done in the scene. So I think Interstellar wins it hands down for sound mixing this year. What do you think?
So now we come down to the achievement in sound editing. American Sniper, Birdman, The Hobbit and Interstellar and Unbroken. Now the thing is, I don't think any of us has seen the Unbroken, so we can't really
Not
comment.
completely.
But seeing the other options, I don't think it's much of this. It's not going to win end of the day. Now here's why I think American Sniper actually stands a legitimate chance at it. Because the way the sound has been done, it is very organic, and for some reason, the Oscar always loves organic soundtracks over the ones which are like in space, or The Hobbit, which is clashing armors and all these things. So I feel the race is between American Sniper and Birdman. What do you think, Pushkaraj?
I think Interstellar catches it again.
It has a I don't know. I feel sound editing again.
I
It's
think,
not sound mixing.
Yeah, sound mixing and sound editing together in Interstellar was just brilliant. As in, rarely have I seen a so action-packed movie, so VFX-packed movie that is carried entirely on its sound. In Interstellar, there are moments where you can shut your eyes and you can still imagine what the scene is. You can still imagine the shifts in zones. When you're talking on the video screen, when you are in space listening to the same shot, when the person is behind the camera talking, all the sounds are perfect. When you're moving from one zone to another, you can exactly tell that. And I think that is...
That still comes under sound mixing, my dear.
But it's still extremely well cut. There's no snap, there is no random cut. Yeah, American Sniper holds a legit chance for it being very real and organic. But my heart still goes out to Interstellar for making the sound carry the entire movie on its shoulders.
But I genuinely feel that if Interstellar wins either one of this, it won't win both of them, and they might split it in between.
Yeah. That is a true concern, because that does happen with the Oscars, where they're like, oh, we've given one to this guy, let's give a charity vote to this one.
Possibly.
Yeah, and it's a sad thing that happens, but my heart does go out to Interstellar winning this one. If not, I think they might.
American Sniper as well as Birdman, both of which has very good and intelligent sound designing and editing.
Yes.
So.
Birdman, extremely intelligent sound design.
Really.
Okay. So that's it. That's what we think wins in sound design. If you are into sound and you think what wins better, what has better sound editing, do let us know what do you think would win the Oscars this year. The Oscar for Achievement in Production Design. The nominees this year are The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Interstellar, Into the Woods, and Mr. Turner. Right? Let's go through the strengths of each. Mr. Turner, absolutely brilliant, period piece, very much in the era. Everything is pitch perfectly European in the era that it's supposed to be. But my biggest problem with the movie is nothing is aged. Everything looks brand new. All the costumes, all the furniture in the movie looks brand new. It's as if nothing has ever been used. It's purely been used for a movie. And that's my greatest giveaway in a movie that is nominated for production design.
And
like,
that
your
is the
costumes
concern,
and
right?
your costumes and furniture don't look real. So major concerns with that movie actually winning it. If it wins, I would be really surprised. So it's extremely well done. Everything looking brand new in a movie is just not cutting it.
And I think that same concern does not lend itself to Imitation Game, because everything in there felt very properly used.
Exactly. That's a perfect contrast to Mr. Turner. Everything in Imitation Game is from the exact era that it's supposed to be. They've kept the timelines very well. You know when you're moving between time zones purely based on the costumes, the office design itself. Okay, it's extremely well done, and even the clothes they're wearing, you can see tatters and tears and threads out. The equipment they're using, apart from the Enigma cracking machine, everything is slightly used. The typewriters are a little faded, the typewriters are a little cut. None of the papers look like they've just been pulled out of a brand new sheet. So it's all really well done. The aging process, the real look, it really does capture it.
And in fact, even that you mentioned the Enigma, if you notice by the end of the time, the Enigma, those wheels have started wearing out.
Yeah,
and I didn't notice that.
Exactly my point. Everything has its time in place, and that is for me absolutely beautiful production design. But still, okay, you have a movie like Interstellar, which actually makes us travel through time, ahead of time, and still keep everything scientifically perfect to be in there. Like a lot of research has gone into making that kind of production design where it's believable. You don't have the typical robot who walks on two legs and walks around. You know, you have a cube with a screen that can transform itself into various things, and that is probably more futuristic than any other futuristic movie has ever been.
And you know what, I found that a very doable, tangible concept.
Yeah, that's what
I like that concept.
What is in the production design of the movie is not something that is arbitrary. It's something what the future might actually probably look like.
And not to mention, in Interstellar, most of the sets all the props, everything is real.
Yeah.
Most of it is not a green screen. In fact, here's a fun fact. When you see them sitting on the space station and you see the background in there, the background is actually real, it's not a green screen.
But again, Interstellar still gets beaten by, I think, the one movie that will win it this year, and that is The Grand Budapest Hotel. Alright? This movie defines production design in this year for me. From the intricacy of set design to costume selection to the transference between a set and an actual shot, everything is pitch perfect in this movie. It is brilliant. What do you think about Grand Budapest Hotel?
I love the scene in which they fall on a lot of pastry boxes, and I think that's a win for production design. Because that scene is so damn memorable. They fall from the top, and everything in that scene has been constructed for this movie. Nothing exists. And those boxes, the logos, that confectionery truck, everything is production design and brilliantly done.
The entire movie is literally craft. Okay, the movie is film craft at its best. Like if I had to construct a movie out of nothing, Grand Budapest Hotel would be it. So if any other movie really wins production design this year, I would be really surprised, because Wes Anderson and his team has set the bar for production design with this movie. So my heart goes out to Grand Budapest Hotel winning it this year. You let us know. Actually, both of us think the same.
Yeah.
So you let us know, what do you think? Who would win best production design this year? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Or why? And why? So let us know. Comment below and let us know who you think will take away the Oscars this year.
We are now in the categories of Best Achievement in Music, Original Score. We are not talking about the original song because we don't really give a damn. I personally think Everything Is Awesome might win, but Score is something that he and I really like, and we care about it a lot. And I think we have a unanimous winner here, which would be Interstellar.
Okay, but let us go with the nominees
Right.
first.
I'll give you the nominees, but I feel Interstellar is gonna win. The nominees are The Grand Budapest Hotel, Imitation Game, Interstellar, Mr. Turner, and The Theory of Everything.
So Grand Budapest Hotel, great music, great sound, blah blah blah. It's very nicely done, but it's obviously better than Imitation Game at any day. But Interstellar beats them both by miles. Mr. Turner was alright. Theory of Everything is strictly okay in compared to these. So I think Interstellar, as I mentioned before, the sound and the music carry the entire movie on its shoulders. When close your eyes and watch this visually spectacular movie just by its sound design and music. So I think Hans Zimmer will clinch yet another Oscar this year for Interstellar. Right? So
look, when it comes to the music, I think Budapest, Imitation Game, and Theory of Everything have a music which is, I think they're so on the same level. I don't really recall one from the other. I don't actually get any theme which is in my head which would give me some, oh, this is that music from this film. Interstellar does have that. It has that particular theme, especially when the pod is docking, and that music is in my head.
And I think Hans Zimmer has the craft of doing original scores bang on, as in I don't know anybody else who can deliver as consistent a performance at creating original scores as he can, and I think he'll take the Oscar again this year. What do you think?
Having said that, sorry. I feel the Theory of Everything is gonna win. I don't want it to, but having said that, I have a feeling it's gonna win. That's just my prediction. I might be completely wrong. Tell us if you think I'm wrong, if you like the scores of these movies better than we did, and if you think Interstellar score deserves it.
Alright, so continuing our Oscar lists, who is taking home the Oscars this year? We come to achievement in makeup and hairstyling. The nominees are Foxcatcher, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
You know what, before you can say anything else, the only reason Foxcatcher got a goddamn Oscar nomination is because of one nose prosthetic. That is it.
But defending Foxcatcher's nomination is that you can actually see the character's transformations and the character's emotions even through the makeup, which is very important. The makeup conveyed the character. You know, there's a scene where Channing Tatum starts becoming this guy's fuddy-duddy boy instead of being the wrestler that he was, and purely by changing his hairstyle and a little makeup on his face, you've seen the transformation, the character transformation in Channing Tatum, which is an achievement in makeup, I believe. Obviously, the makeup done to the lead was unbelievable. Nobody recognized him. It was difficult to tell it's the same actor, Steve Carell.
I forgot his name.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's a guy with the nose. It's the guy with the nose.
Yeah, Steve Carell the makeup done on Steve Carell was mind blowing, but I don't think it can stand a chance against
The Grand Budapest
the
Hotel.
Grand Budapest Hotel. Alright, you have Guardians of the Galaxy, which is spectacular, brilliant, blah blah blah, superheroes and great shit. But most of it is CG. So when it comes to actual makeup and hairstyling,
but think of this: Gamora is not CG. The girl, the blue color villain, she's not CG. Neither is the villain CG. Nor is all those background aliens. Imagine there are at least 100 people there who have been here. So it's mass over quantity.
yeah.
Like it's
As
like
in-
you know what? Grand Budapest
you
Hotel.
can go to a cosplay and find makeup like that. But the Grand Budapest Hotel had makeup which actually gave character to all its actors. Like it has a plethora of cast, everybody with some credible name, with a known personality, and purely the makeup and hairstyling of these characters have actually transformed them into the characters of the movie, the characters that the director wanted to tell in the story. And that is what I guess makes up the power of makeup and hairstyling in the movie. Without the makeup and hairstyling, it would have been just another movie with just another character put in.
It would have sucked actually.
Exactly.
And I think we both of us are for Grand Budapest to win. I was just playing devil's advocate with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Always good to have a counter opinion. So, but we still come to the same point that Grand Budapest Hotel will take home the Oscars this year
And this
for
one
makeup
I'm
and
pretty
hairstyling.
damn sure. I'm pretty damn sure it's gonna win this one.
Yep. So, what do you think? Do you think Grand Budapest Hotel will take home the Oscars for best hairstyling and makeup this year? If not, which one would and why? Let us know.
And do you think the nose deserves the Oscar just for a freaking nose? I don't like the nose. What's with the nose?
Alright, coming back to the Oscars list again this year, who do you think would take home the achievement in film editing? The nominees are American Sniper, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, and Whiplash. Let's just discuss it out. Let's just see which one has credibility to be here. Actually, all of them are credible to be here, but which one is the best among them?
Because honestly, we have had this discussion and we still haven't boiled down on one. So let's just hash it out. So American Sniper, Pushkaraj, what are your thoughts on the editing?
American Sniper was well edited. You don't skip the timeline, but the editing is quite visible. As in, you know there's a cut here, you know there's a cut here, and personally, I think great editing is when the editing is invisible. You should not be able to see the edit. And in American Sniper, because of the cuts, the movie becomes a movie that it becomes a bit jarring. And this is not just my opinion. A lot of my friends found the same. American Sniper starts getting a little jarring towards the point where they're skipping time frames. And that, I think, is a flaw in terms of its editing, or what might take away its chance to win best achievement in film editing.
You know what, in American Sniper, look, I am an editor, right? That's my job. And the editing in it was not only visible in it, I think that's one of the worst edited films to be nominated. It was not edited well at all. Half the action scenes did not make much sense. People are still confused as to who got shot where and how. And I've had people ask me this question, not just my friends, people on IMDb as well, who didn't get what happened. So that's badly edited. Now we come down to a movie which I really liked, and I think Pushkaraj is not that great a fan of, and that is Boyhood. Now here's why I personally think Boyhood will win. Because cutting down 12 years of footage into a coherent film is difficult. They haven't completely succeeded at it, but I think what they have done is gotten themselves a nomination over it.
The applauding the effort for cutting down 12 years of film, I understand. Okay, great, brilliant. You cut down 12 years of footage into a 3-hour long movie, but is it an achievement in film editing?
3 hours long.
Yeah.
Remember, 3 hours long.
Is it an achievement in film editing worthy of an Oscar compared to the other ones that you have on the list? I don't think so. Yeah. You have Grand Budapest Hotel.
You know what? Having said that, I don't like the editing of it much. The point is, that's the first time someone has attempted that, maybe, because again, this is a technical award. The Oscars might just award them on a technical basis. Because oh my god, your 12 years of footage and whatever, and it's a technical thing.
I really hope it doesn't get it, because the editing was too boring. The movie, I felt too long stretched beyond measure. Yeah, 3 hours of boredom. After 1 hour, I was like, why am I even watching this? And that is bad editing for me. You killed the pace of the movie at many points, many points. It should have just moved on, move on to the next point, and it did not. Okay. Coming to Grand Budapest Hotel. Now here's a movie which was extremely well edited. Okay, it mimicked the old style. Now my problem with this is it is brilliant. All right, I love it. I love the way it's edited, but it's not done something totally unique. It's done something that a movie called The Artist has also done last year,
2011.
yeah,
2011.
a few years back. Right, you're mimicking an old style. You're doing it to perfection. You're doing it perfectly well. Great shit. I love it personally, but Oscar maybe not. Right? Imitation Game. We have mixed reviews on Imitation Game.
See, Imitation Game, as far as it comes to the editing part, I think we have discussed this once. That remember him in the jail cell and him in the it kind of confused us at some point of time.
The editing is actually confusing the timeline.
It
There are
is.
points in the movie where I couldn't tell whether this is now or before or between. The timeline is skewed up. Till you move on to the equipment in the room and everything, you cannot actually tell you have actually skipped timelines. You're still in the same timeline in your head, and the edit has moved on, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
So that is where Imitation Game gets a strike one from me, and I don't think it will cut it all the way to the Oscars. Now we come to Whiplash. Now this is a movie I personally love. This is a movie that for me was almost the movie of the year. Right? I haven't seen a movie so brilliant in a long time, and I absolutely loved it. Alright. And what about the editing of Whiplash?
Whiplash has one of the snappiest fast cut edits that I've seen, which works so well. See, the problem with Grand Budapest is sometimes the editing does not work. It does not work at all in Boyhood. Here it works completely. Like every time there's a direct cut to him going from his practice right to his date, you know what the fuck happened. Instead of you going like, what?
No, nowhere is a scene cut that leaves you wondering what happened.
Exactly.
Everything has. The whole movie is so pacey. When I first saw the trailer, I actually thought I was expecting to see a long, slow, boring film.
Exactly.
And then when I started to see the movie, I couldn't stop watching it. The pace was snap, and still the intensity of the story is right at 110% all throughout.
That entire car crash sequence where he comes, he has forgotten his takes, he goes
Okay,
back.
don't give spoilers out here. Don't give spoilers
That's not
out
a
here.
spoiler.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, it is a brilliantly edited film, you know. You have an actor
You know what?
who actually knows to play the
Right,
drums,
right.
okay, he learned it
Makes
for the
sense.
movie.
Yeah.
And obviously you have an actual musician playing it and you're intercutting between that, but not for once. Okay, unlike all our action movies nowadays, where you can tell where it's the hero and where it's the stunt double. You can never tell this was not played by the actor himself. The
I
cuts
could
are
tell.
so perfect, nobody could tell. As in, it's like, and you're still in that zone where this guy is actually playing and you're like, huh, he plays so well.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, yeah.
And but you know, one thing came to my mind. Now the who are viewing this has already seen the movies, and hence they are in the Oscar race. I don't think the spoilers really matter much, and we can go with the spoilers. What do you say?
No. I think Whiplash is a movie you out to see and enjoy if you still haven't watched
Absolutely.
it. So I wouldn't want to give out spoilers. So achievement in film editing, I think Whiplash cuts it this year. What do you think?
In case you are wondering why we are raving about this, I say stop this video right now. It's on YouTube. You can load it later. Watch Whiplash and come back, and then you will understand why we are going bonkers on it and why I'm going like this. And I don't even know the drums.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a brilliant movie, and
Absolutely.
I think it deserves an achievement in film editing Oscar this year. What do you think? Which film deserves to win this year? Let us know. Put in your comment and make your vote count. Continuing our Oscar marathon, we come to achievement in direction.
I think Pushkaraj, by now this show has gone on for 3+ hours and it's longer than the freaking Oscars. What do you say? So yeah, we are
Minus all the performances in between. If you want performances, you can watch the Sheila Ki Jawani or Sunny Leone video right next there. somewhere.
absolutely.
Here we'll stick to the point. The nominees are Birdman, Boyhood, Foxcatcher, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and The Imitation Game.
And I think let's name the directors when we are discussing them. What-
Yes,
yeah.
let's actually do that. Alright, let's take it piece by piece. Let's take the first one. You have Birdman, directed by Alejandro G. Inarritu. I can still not pronounce his name.
We are
Brilliant
sorry.
director though.
We are sorry, Alejandro. We do not know how to name you. Sorry.
Yeah, Alejandro.
Alejandro, yes.
Yes, whatever. Though he's a brilliant director, alright?
Shit, he's gonna kill us if he ever sees it. Okay. Direction.
Birdman is a brilliantly directed movie, right? The entire movie is carried out through screenplay, the sound, music, everything is perfectly in tune. It carries through, it has a surreal element which flows in. There are movements when you're moving from one time zone to another and you're still be able to figure out what the hell is happening.
And in the same camera frame.
And in the same
movement.
frame, it looks like the same take. Obviously, the direction of photography for this movie is sheer genius. But overall, the movie has soul, right? Despite it being a movie that has not been liked by some general audiences, the critics love it. I love it. I find it to have a lot of soul.
General audiences loved it.
There are a lot of people who found Birdman a little too boring for their taste, and I agree. If I was watching it when I was really tired or something, I would probably not enjoy it. But if I sit through it, by the end of it, I know that this movie has soul, and the director has managed to convince me of that, and which is why I think Birdman is a very, very, very strong contender this year. So Alejandro might take his first Oscar away home this year.
Having said that, I genuinely believe that Richard Linklater for Boyhood is going to win, because he has done this big stunt, which is like a once in a lifetime stunt for entire of Hollywood. Nobody shoots a movie over 12 years and watches the kids grow up. What if the kids die? What if a lead actor dies of cocaine overdose or some shit like that? And this guy is going to get the Oscar just because he has taken that kind of risk. Nobody takes that kind of risk. I've never heard anyone take this huge a risk, and I think he's going to be awarded for it. Does he deserve it? Not really.
I don't think he deserves it.
He doesn't deserve it. But you know what, having said that, just for having the balls big enough to film over 12 years, he's going to be awarded for that, because I don't think anyone else is ever going to try that. So that's my reason why Boyhood's going to win, not on technical merit, just because you have pulled a good stunt.
No, if you want to award something on technical merit, I think Grand Budapest Hotel should be awarded. Like Wes Anderson should be awarded purely on technical merit for direction, because that is direction. Like Grand Budapest Hotel, you managed to put in comedy, angst, anger, funny moments, everything.
There's a shootout. There's a big shootout in between.
And that is just genius direction. As in, I can't imagine any other director in the world right now who would manage to pull off a Grand Budapest Hotel.
Absolutely.
So technically, if you're talking about Wes Anderson should take away the Oscar this year.
Definitely.
Right? You have a movie called Foxcatcher by Bennett Miller in here, and I honestly don't know why it's in here. Okay. Very bloody serious. I saw the movie, I'm like very serious, wrestler, oh serious, and very, very, very dark, groovy undertone. But it's a movie you send to award fest, to film festivals and everything. Oscars, I don't think Foxcatcher really cuts it.
You know what? I love the scene where there's some top ramen, ketchup, he's eating it. Good direction, man. Great.
Alright, I understand your ability to direct. Obviously, you're brilliant in directing something which is gritty, has a very sinister undertone all throughout, but sinister undertone all throughout the length of your movie for the entire film. Okay, if I have to give an award purely for maintaining a sinister undertone in a movie, I would probably give it to Bennett Miller. But I'm definitely not rooting for the Oscar.
Best dark undertone to a film goes to Foxcatcher.
Okay, not the Oscar for best achievement in direction. Alright. Then you have Morten Tidlum. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Alright, for Imitation Game.
I don't know either.
Again, Imitation Game, great movie, brilliant storyline, brilliant everything, very well told. The direction is good, great, not
flat.
Brilliant. Yeah,
it's flat.
It's flat in many terms, because I didn't know whether I was watching a documentary on this man's life. I was watching a movie. A movie is supposed to evoke an emotion in me, and this one really lacked.
I think
to actually keep emotions into me.
You're having a hard time talking about this film because it didn't have any, ups and downs. It just went flat and then climax.
There are scenes where you actually want to feel something for this character. Like, come on, he broke the enigma, and you're like, okay,
should I feel
broke the enigma. Yeah. You're confused on what you should feel.
See, I feel The Imitation Game is a very BBC documentary.
Yeah.
And Englishmen have a very stiff kind of thing going on.
It's a very intelligently well-made documentary. I don't think it's a Oscar-worthy direction movie.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So I think our vote kind of goes with Wes Anderson, but I feel Linklater's gonna win. But we both want Wes Anderson to win. What do you say?
I want Wes Anderson to win, okay, but Alejandro Inarritu might also take it away, because Birdman is a piece in itself. It is a piece of art, the movie. You're tackling various realms in the same movie, you're tackling various issues in the same movie. And Alejandro has done this even before in a movie,
Babel.
In Babel, okay? And he has this style which is iconically him. He's done the same in Amores Perros,
And 21 grams.
Yeah, and 21 grams. He has this knack for pulling a story together and pulling a soul out of it, and he's again done it again with Birdman, and it's brilliant. Like the performances are brilliant, score is brilliant, the cinematography is brilliant. I think as a movie piece, Birdman really clinches it for me. Right? So for me, the competition is between Budapest Hotel and Birdman.
But I think the expert competition is between Boyhood and Birdman, and I still say
our heart goes out to Grand Budapest Hotel, definitely. But technically, Boyhood or Birdman might clinch it.
Absolutely.
All right. So you let us know what do you think will win. I bet on Birdman winning it this year. All right. Though my heart does go out to Grand Budapest Hotel, I think Birdman would win it this year.
Boyhood.
What do you think? Boyhood. All right. So you have 3 votes out here. You let us know what do you think would win.
Sadly, Boyhood.
Yeah. Oh, you know what the fuckiest thing would be? If Foxcatcher or Imitation Game win, then we're like, holy shit, what?
We are so off the base on this.
Yeah, alright. So that's it. You let us know what do you think would win and why. Achievement in costume design. Alright, this is one of my favorite segments, and because it flows from production design, and the nominees this year are the Grand Budapest Hotel, of course, Inherent Vice, Into the Woods, Maleficent, and Mr. Turner. Okay, as we discussed before, Mr. Turner, everything is period, everything is in place, costumes are impeccable, but that is my problem with it. The costumes are impeccable, the art is impeccable, nothing looks used or aged or something that has actually been worn by a person. Everything looks brand new, and that for me is a major flaw in costume design, right? So Mr. Turner gets turned down, in my opinion, for that reason. Maleficent, okay, over the top, very Disney, very modern. I don't think worthy of costume design.
How much of it was costume and how much was CGI?
Yeah. Nowadays this is becoming a major problem. When costume design and production design and CG are all mixing together, you don't know what is worth what. So
actually,
I think we need to figure out a way where we can block our minds and think on purely what was done in one particular
segment. What? Maybe they need to show us behind the scenes with green screen so we know what is your costume and what's your CG.
Yeah. So Maleficent, I don't think should win.
And I have the same problem with Into the Woods.
Yeah.
The same problem.
Into the Woods again, the same problem. You don't know how much is actual costume. You don't know how much is CG, and based on what would you judge it? Okay. Inherent Vice, honestly, I haven't seen, so I don't know. But the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Inherent Vice has kind of a 70s thing, and I feel that has been done many times before. So there's nothing spectacular there, which brings us to
the Grand Budapest Hotel, which is my personal favorite, running in the Oscars this year for everything production design, from costume to art to props, everything.
And it deserves all of it.
And it deserves all of it, Grand Budapest Hotel is a movie that has its costumes perfectly in its period. It has its costumes that look really worn by the characters. The color palettes of the costumes tell a story. You know who's boring, who's gritty, who is flamboyant, who is boisterous. Everybody's costume is more than a costume. It's a story of the character. It's a story of what that person is. Even when you see the guards in grey, these are serious people. When you see the black stripe on them, these are murderously serious people. When you see someone in a regular light faded suit, this is someone to be taken casually. The colors of the costume speak the story, and for that reason, I think as for achievement in costume design, this year Grand Budapest Hotel will take home the Oscar. What do you think? Which one of these would actually win the Oscars? Let us know, put in your comment below and let your vote count.
Now we're down to achievement in cinematography. And out of all the options, let me read them out to you. Birdman, The Grand Budapest Hotel, IDA or IDA, I don't know, Mr. Turner and Unbroken. And I really feel he has it nailed down.
Birdman! Take away the Oscar. Here, take it off. Alright?
I think it's won already.
Yeah, I don't think any movie can beat Birdman this year. Okay, it's not only a gimmick of shooting the entire film in one take, okay, or rather making it look like the entire film was shot in one take, but in fact, the way it's shot and the movement of the scenes and everything contributes to the storytelling of the movie, to the storytelling of the characters, to the storytelling of the script, to the director's vision. And that is true cinematography. They have played a lot with the lights and angles in post and stuff, but every reason for every light source to be there in the film is actually there. It actually adds to the story. When your character is moving from dark to light, when your character is moving from a warm orange to a cold blue. Everything has a reason. It shows their emotions through the lights, through the transference of the camera angles, through everything. So in terms of cinematography, I don't think anybody can beat Birdman this year, and Birdman will take home the Oscars for cinematography this year.
Birdman wins. I don't have anything to say about it. Just wins.
Yeah. If you have a different opinion, please put it down and let us know why. And I would be very glad to read your comment about why some other film might just win the Oscar this year.
Have you seen Ida? Okay. And the best animated feature film of the year categories nominations are Big Hero 6, The Box Trolls, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Song of the Sea, and the Tale of Princess Kaguya. And I think that's a Studio Ghibli movie.
Yeah.
Let's start with that.
Okay, so Tale of Princess Kaguya is, in animation terms, perfection.
It's like
Right.
poetry.
It is poetry, it is visual poetry. The same guys made Spirited Away, which is one of my favorite animation films of all time, and the same animation studio has now made The Tale of Princess Kaguya, which is again at par, or I think even better than Spirited Away, and I very much think that it will take away the Oscars this year. Though the other contenders are equally strong, or at least really have a good chance against it, right? The one that comes closest to actually beating Tale of Princess Kaguya would probably be How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Or maybe even Song of the Sea.
Yeah, Song of the Sea is very brilliantly animated, okay, has a lot of soul, but I don't know whether it actually kept the pace that a movie is supposed to keep. Okay, that is my only problem with the movie. And in terms of the way it's animated, the storytelling, the whole heart, the movie having a heart part, it's got it pat on, but Princess Kaguya is still way better than it. Now, How to Train Your Dragon. Now, this is where I'm really confused, because I love the movie. It was brilliant. The characterization of the dragon on a dog, the behavior, the way the salamander
You know what?
characters are given to it.
If you missed his review, you can check it out right here. He has reviewed How to Train Your Dragon 2, and he really loved the movie.
Yeah, I was berserk over it. Okay, it's one of the best animation movies, most entertaining animation movies I've seen in a long time. I loved How to Train Your Dragon 1, but How to Train Your Dragon 2 actually outdid it, which
Completely,
was
yes.
spectacular, totally unexpected. And How to Train Your Dragon 2 is actually a movie that is not only animation perfection, but also a commercial hit,
Correct.
which is brilliant for it. So, which is what actually puts it here in the category that I think it might actually fight against The Tale of Princess Kaguya and win.
But having, you know what, if Princess Kaguya was not in this category and the Lego movie was, which would have won it outright. Lego movie is not here, and that is the biggest, snub in the Oscar. Lego movie not in this, but since it is not, let us not talk about it. We are
Lego
coming-
movie I don't think had a chance.
Lego movie, if it was in this category, it would have won it outright, because everyone loved that movie, and that's the reason why it's not in here. And people would have probably torn down the Oscars, burnt it to ground, and stamped on them because it didn't win. So that's why they didn't put it in here.
No,
Trust me, the
I-
Lego
I-
movie outdid every other movie in the last 10 years. Can you imagine that?
It
An
may have
animated
done.
film.
It may have done.
Look, I didn't like
Okay,
it.
commercially it may have succeeded because Lego has a major
Critically as
following.
well.
Okay, but the movie did not have the level of soul needed to be in an Oscar-nominated animation film.
I completely
When you're talking
agree with
of
you on that.
Tale of Princess Kaguya and Spirited Away, you're talking of a movie having soul.
Not to mention, Big Hero 6 has a lot of soul.
Now, Big Hero 6, the reason why I liked Big Hero 6 but I don't think it would win an Oscar is because it has one major screenplay error.
Which is?
It is the character change of the villain. The character change is so sudden, it is unbelievable, and that is where the whole script just gets cut a point down for purely not being
You know what?
believable.
I think
Okay.
Big Hero 6 had production
how,
issues.
how did a guy go from being a really nice guy to snapshot one accident and suddenly becoming villain? Alright?
You know what? In Big Hero 6, and here's something.
There's no conviction in the story.
Here's the weird part about it. I had a feeling that the brother might have been the villain, and I think that's how they wrote the film. And at the end, changed it because people had guessed their ending. I don't know. The ending was all over the place.
It was all over the place. You had zero conviction in who the villain is and what, and it seemed too forced. Alright, it just didn't cut with me. I enjoyed the movie. It was brilliant, but the story was for kids. You know, if a person with actual understanding
Of complexities of life, yeah.
of life watches it, he would not be convinced by it.
But
right?
How to Train Your Dragon 2 did not have those issues at all.
Everything was in place. Every character had a reason to be. Okay, including the big dragon, the mega dragon, the baby dragon, the characters, the
like all
mother,
of them.
everybody. Every character is lovable. Every character is brilliant. So, I'm stuck here between How to Train Your Dragon 2 and The Tale of Princess Kaguya.
And the reason we are not mentioning the
Even
box
mentioning
trolls
Brock's Trolls actually
is because, well, it sucked.
yeah.
Can you fit in a box? No? Okay. You're out of this competition.
You're not a box troll.
Bye-bye.
I got bored of the movie, honestly.
Bye-bye.
So, bye-bye.
Kaguya or Dragon 2, tell us your opinions. Who do you think is gonna win? I personally think it's a Japanese movie, it always wins. But I would really be pleasantly surprised. I would love it if
Honestly, I would
Dragon
also
2
be
wins.
pleasantly surprised if How to Train Your Dragon 2 actually wins it, because I love Toothless. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you let us know, what do you think will win?
Now we are in the big bad big page, which is all the biggest of the winners, and this is the part where we have been waiting for. Now we are not covering the actress in a supporting role because we have honestly not seen Laura Dern in Wild.
And unlike the Oscar committee, we actually prefer seeing our movies before we comment on them. Right?
Actually, and I cannot compare with all honesty without having seen any of these performances. Now we come to
Oh.
actress in a leading role.
By the way, me saying that the Oscar committee does not watch the movies that it's nominating is because that actually did happen, and you can browse through the articles in the past where a certain movie was nominated by all the panel members despite half of them actually not having watched it, purely because it had someone they had heard about being great at it. So that's where lobbying takes place, and we don't want to be a part of it. We purely want to judge the movies that we have
I think
actually seen.
Meryl Streep comes to mind. Every time she's in a role, she wins. So that's not fair. Anyway, now we are coming to actress in a leading role, and the nominations are Marion Cotillard for 2 Days, 1 Night, Felicity Jones, The Theory of Everything, Julianne Moore, Still Alice, Rosamund Pike for Gone Girl, and Reese Witherspoon for Wild.
Alright, Rosamund Pike is an actress I always thought had a lot of potential, and when I saw Gone Girl, she is the only person in the entire movie who's actually pulled the entire movie through. Her performance is what makes and breaks the movie entirely. Her performance is the one thing worth watching for in that movie. So she is the strongest contender for the Oscar this year. But I think the woman who would actually beat her is Julianne Moore from Still Alice. Julianne Moore is a brilliant actress, no doubt about it. But the character she's played in Still Alice as a fully functioning woman who turns into a patient who has Alzheimer's, and the struggle that she goes through, and the struggle exaggerating, and her emotional breakthroughs through it, her emotional triumphs and downfalls. She's given a range of emotions that none of the other actresses on this list have. Okay, Rosamund Pike plays a bitchy psycho woman all throughout the movie. That is one role. She held one role, played it all great shit. She performed it brilliantly well. But nothing beats the absolute range of emotion and characterization that Julianne Moore has played in Still Alice, and that is why I think she truly deserves the Oscar for Best Actress this year.
Look, Reese Witherspoon has come a long way from Legally Blonde to Wild, in which she goes on a nature trail hike. But
okay,
having said that, I think any of these other actresses could have pulled off that role, maybe even better. So
you know
what?
I feel Reese Witherspoon's Oscar nomination in Wild is a bit like Tom Hanks' Oscar nomination in Castaway, where you'll be nominated purely because you hogged the entire screen time.
You know what? Here's how I see how the Oscars should and shouldn't be won. I would picture the other actresses in that same role and see how well they would have done.
Yeah.
Julianne Moore would have done The Wild. Okay. Rosamund Pike. Anyone else could have done it. But having said that, could anyone else have done Julianne Moore's
Moore
role?
in Still Alice? No way. That role is brilliant.
Maybe Marion Cotillard could have a shot at it.
It's a dream role. It's a dream role for Julianne Moore. I think the script was written for Julianne Moore. The way it's written, it's brilliant, and she is just that character. She is perfect for that role, and she will take away the Oscar this year. I'm bloody confident of it.
And the expert opinion is Felicity Jones, and I call complete hogwash on that. That lady has done decently in that role, but that's it, just decently. At any point of time, my eyes were stuck on Eddie Redmayne, and this woman was there. She was good.
Yeah,
But she does not deserve an Oscar for that.
absolutely like a third leg in the movie. If you actually see the movie, hearing
Yeah.
everything, she's a third leg in the movie. The
It's
actual
between,
movie.
I mean, the hero of the movie is the wheelchair
Yeah.
and Eddie Redmayne. So wheelchair Eddie Redmayne wins the Oscar.
Yeah,
She's the
and,
third
but
leg.
you also have to consider the fact that Eddie Redmayne's performance absolutely overshadows her to a level that her performance is reduced to nothing. Alright? So, but still, even if you take that into consideration, she doesn't cut across being better than Julianne Moore is still Alice. So, we come to the same point again.
But here's why Julianne Moore may not win. There's one counterpoint to it. She was in Seventh Son, the movie where she completely phoned it in. It just released 2 weeks before the Oscars, and sometimes Oscars does take it into the consideration. It has happened with some actors before, like Eddie Murphy in Bowfinger. He lost his Oscar that year because of that movie. You never know. Unlikely, but possible. I just wanted to throw it out there. In case she loses
the performance
it.
is too stunning to be ignored.
No,
I
but
think
you know
she'll
what?
take it
Just in case she loses it and people call us on our bullshit, I put it out there. So,
home. Alright.
I think this video has gone on for so long. Our cameraman has died. I can see his skeleton behind. Now we are coming to the performance by an actor in supporting role. And the nominations are Robert Duvall, The Judge; Ethan Hawke, Boyhood; Edward Norton, Birdman; Mark Ruffalo, Foxcatcher; J.K. Simmons, Whiplash. And we have only one thing to talk about here, and that is J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons. The most amazing role in a supporting cast I've ever seen.
Ever.
Okay. Now, Whiplash is a movie that literally revolves between two characters. That is it. And those two characters are the soul and the life of the movie. And J.K. Simmons is irreplaceable. I cannot imagine anybody else playing J.K. Simmons. Okay? Yeah, exactly. Like, the intensity of his performance is what carries that entire movie. He is that whiplash of that fucking movie. Alright? Every time you watch him speak, every time you watch an emotion on his face, it is there. You are there. You feel frustrated because of him. You feel angry because of him. You feel amazed because of him. Every emotion you feel in the movie is purely J.K. Simmons at play. So I would be really surprised if anybody on this list beats J.K. Simmons to the award of the Oscar this year.
I don't even want to talk about anyone else. J.K. Simmons should win, will win. If it doesn't, we are gonna, I don't know, start burning Oscar effigies or something. And here's the best part. If you want to see more of J.K. Simmons, please petition so that he's in the next Spider-Man movie. Come on, this guy played J. Jonah Jameson brilliantly in Spider-Man 1, 2 and 3, and we want him back. In Spider-Man, this guy is so good. When I saw that Spider-Man movie, I'm like, somebody give him a bigger role.
Yeah.
And finally someone did, and he killed it.
He killed it. The performance is mind blowing. Go watch the movie, and if you don't agree with me, let me know. I don't think that is even a possibility.
We will come
Right?
to you and we'll go do this.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
For those who don't get this reference, watch
the
the
movie.
movie. Alright, so that's it. J.K. Simmons takes home the Oscar this year. I don't want your reviews, I don't want your comments, I don't want your opinions on this. I think he wins it, and I think you should agree too. So let's see J.K. Simmons take home the Oscar this year.
I'm already clapping for J.K. Simmons winning there. I can see it right now happening.
Alright, and we come to the big two of the Oscars list of 2015. Performance by an actor in a leading role. Even before I announce the nominees in this category, I have to say one thing. I'm surprised, okay, that J.K. Simmons, who's been nominated for performance in a supporting role, is someone who would actually beat everybody nominated by the performance by an actor in a leading role. Alright? J.K. Simmons would beat any of his nominations hands down. His performance in a supporting role is that fucking brilliant. Alright? But let's see who's nominated for Best Actor this year.
I'm making a t-shirt saying I love J.K. Simmons.
Yeah,
I'm making
I would fucking wear it. I would fucking wear that to other. Right? So performance by an actor in a leading role. You're Steve Carell for Foxcatcher. You have Bradley Cooper for American Sniper. Where is my plastic baby? Where is my plastic baby?
the plastic baby.
You have Benedict Cumberbatch in The Imitation Game playing Sherlock Holmes in Imitation Game.
Yes.
Okay? You have Michael Keaton in Birdman.
Playing Batman in Birdman.
But Michael Keaton is a really good actor in this movie. That's all I can say. He has acted worthy of being in the leading role, right? And then you have Eddie Redmayne in The Theory of Everything. Okay, but now in performance in a leading role, I would say Steve Carell does not cut it because it's a monotone. He's played the same.
But tell me
he's
one
played
thing.
the same character all throughout. He's maintained it. Yeah. Great applause to him. I love him for the fact that he moved from a comedian guy to a funny man to someone playing sinisterly.
But how is
Bad.
it? How is it the leading role? Isn't he
Okay.
a supporting character just like J.K. Simmons?
But I don't know why
I-
they decided to give him a leading role. But
I
anyways,
have no
okay.
idea.
Bradley Cooper, strictly no, that was not a performance you get an Oscar for. Okay. I'm like, I don't even have words for it.
I'm
Why it's
sorry, I'm
nominated
mocking
here.
Bradley
Yeah.
Cooper, but that plastic baby.
I
with
love
the
I love
outfit.
I love Bradley Cooper, but Oscar nominations, sorry, no.
Did you notice how he kept flicking the arm on that plastic baby
Yeah.
as if going, "Hey, it's a plastic baby, bitches. What do you
It's
think?"
like guitar, yeah, ding 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 ding. It was just fake. Bleh. Yeah, and you have Benedict Cumberbatch in The Imitation Game. If I actually put one scene from The Imitation Game on the left hand side of my screen and I put one scene from Sherlock on the right hand side of my screen, I actually cannot name the characters he's playing.
Except for the haircut.
Except for the haircut. Exactly. So that's my whole point. He's played the same role he plays all the time. There's no transference of character. Maybe that's what the director wanted, but that actually doesn't cut it as an actor for me.
You know what? He's like Tom Cruise. He's a new age Tom Cruise, where Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise in every single film.
Yeah. Actually, Benedict Cumberbatch has played a little bit of Sherlock mixed with a little bit of Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory. Okay? I think that's the perfect combination of what he's played in Imitation Game. Not worthy of an Oscar. Alright, it is a great performance. I love the performance, but it's
Oh,
not worthy
and
of an
in
Oscar.
case you don't know, Benedict Cumberbatch has also played Stephen Hawking, and Eddie Redmayne kind of outdid him in every single way.
So we'll come to that. We'll come to that. We
No,
have
here's why I think Eddie Redmayne is outdoing Cumberbatch right over there. They both played the same role.
Yeah. So Eddie Redmayne, I'll come to Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah.
I think he is the one who will take it away this year, but I'll come to why. Okay. You have Michael Keaton, who has acted brilliantly well. He's hogged the entire screen time for the movie of Birdman. He's played an entire range of emotions, which is beautiful. You have him being anxious, angry, concerned, depressed, downright gone. You have him play the entire plethora of emotions that are possible on screen, but still, you have Eddie Redmayne, who might just beat him with The Theory of Everything.
Before you get there, the award for the best washed up superstar coming back to prominence and a great comeback goes to Michael Keaton. But the Oscar doesn't, it goes to Eddie Redmayne. And I think here's why. Pushkaraj, would you like to talk
Yeah.
about Eddie Redmayne?
So, Eddie Redmayne plays Stephen Hawking, as we all know, and he plays him from the time he was a fully functional collegian to the completely chair-bound person he is today. And that transition from every level is so believable. Like, you actually feel you're watching Stephen Hawking go through the process. In the beginning, when he's just stumbling around things, it's not very obvious. You sometimes wonder whether you actually did see it or did not see it. That faint fumbles in his movements, the change in his body language is so brilliantly carried through. If that is not acting, I don't know what is. You know, I actually believe the way he walks, the way he moves around, the way he slumps, his emotions, even when he is entirely bound to his wheelchair, are absolutely transparent, and you can see through them. You can feel his emotions. You can feel the funniest part is when he's entirely bound to a wheelchair, and you can still feel sort of a romance brewing between him and his nurse. That is brilliant. How do you convey a romance from to someone who's actually walking and talking around? And he's managed to do that purely through the emotions that he's conveyed through his acting, and that is why I think Eddie Redmayne will take home the Oscar for Best Actor this year. The strongest contender he has in his list is Michael Keaton, but again, compare amount of screen time hogged versus actual performance delivered, I think Eddie Redmayne would beat him this year.
And here's a red herring for Eddie Redmayne. He has also appeared in Jupiter Ascending, and by God, he goes the Godfather on it. Like, I will speak slowly. And he's really terrible in it. But I still hope he wins for this one.
I think Jupiter
You know why?
Ascending just
Because
bombed.
Jupiter Ascending is a movie which he did 2 years ago, and right now he's like, oh my God, this
Why did
movie
I do
came
it?
out now. Just before my Oscars, it ascended on the top of my Oscar and shit on it.
Alright, so you let us know who do you think was the best performer, best actor this year. Let us know your comments. Let us know why, and if you think something different, do make sure you make your point and make your vote count. And finally, on our Oscar list, we come to the one nomination we have all been waiting for.
The Big Kahuna.
The best motion picture of the year. Right? You have a lot of nominations here. You have
8 to be precise.
Yeah.
Of the total.
You have American Sniper. You have Birdman. You have Boyhood. The Grand Budapest Hotel. The Imitation Game. Selma. The Theory of Everything. And Whiplash.
Okay, you know what, Pushkaraj? Why don't we start with our least favorite film in the entire list?
Selma.
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 See, we don't
I think Selma is purely here because how do you not have a black person movie in the Oscar list? Here, put one.
I think that's incredibly racist, and that's the only reason it is there.
Yeah, nowadays it's become sort of a compulsion to be seen as non-racist and therefore provide representation. It's like what India has. India has this thing called reservation or a quota. Oh, you are other backward class, you should be in here. Oh, you are from North India, you should be in here. Oh, you are a woman, we need one of you. So
I think the politicians are gonna kill us, but I don't care. Selma is a bad movie.
Yeah, Selma is a really bad movie. Pathetic performances.
You know what? Before we
we
start
start
a rant, I'll just give you a one-liner. Selma is about Martin Luther King and his march from Selma in Alabama, I think, up to some other city. I don't really give a damn about because they didn't show them.
It's like Gandhi's Dandi March done in the USA. Fuck it there. With a really bad performance of Martin Luther King thrown in.
You know what? That is very funny when you say that. That was actually his influence that he went for.
Yeah.
He saw Gandhi doing it in the 40s and he did it. And that is, my God, you hit it right on the nail.
So
and
it is bad movie. Bad movie. Does not deserve a fucking nomination. I would be
Let's
really
move
surprised if it even comes close to winning.
Moving on.
Okay. American Sniper. American jingoism, patriotic porn. No way it deserves an Oscar.
Click
no
here
fucking
for
way.
the Pushkaraj Shirke's review of American Sniper, which he completely hated and I didn't like as well.
No, technically it's a brilliant movie. You know, American Sniper technically is a good movie, but purely about twisting facts and turning it into a propaganda film is where I don't agree with filmmaking being a piece of art. You know
what? I don't even agree on the technical part. I didn't like the editing of it. I did not like a lot of the plastic baby thing, which is a production design failure. So yeah, I don't even like it technically.
No, that one was not, by the way, a production design failure. The original babies didn't turn up, and he had to shoot that day, so he finished the scene with the big plastic babies. But anyway, the point is, it does not win an Oscar.
It doesn't.
Doesn't win an Oscar. Okay, Birdman, very interesting movie. Definitely a top contender at the Oscars for Best Motion Picture of the Year. The critics love it. Many of the audiences love it. It is a great movie, amazing cinematography, great direction, brilliant performances, good music, good sound. It is the whole package deal. It is cinema. Right?
And I personally feel Birdman is going to win. It's not my favorite pick, but I feel it's gonna win.
No, I definitely think Birdman will win this year, but let us give an equal opportunity for the others that are on the list. Alright? You have Boyhood, which I think the only claim to fame the movie has that the movie was shot over 12 years.
It is 12 years a boy.
Yeah, 12 years a boy, blah blah blah. And this 3 hours of boredom, and I just couldn't survive it. Okay.
And here's the best part of it. It ends just like that.
And I don't know a single person. I don't know a single fucking person who's enjoyed Boyhood.
I like the
Enjoyed.
movie. I enjoyed it. But having said that, I was high on
Exactly.
dash.
Exactly. That is probably the only way you would enjoy the movie. Okay.
It's meant to be. It's
Okay. Come to the next movie, which is The Grand Budapest Hotel, which is a brilliant movie. It is in my list of the best film craft movies of all time. Alright, it's filmmaking perfection.
I think it deserves to win.
Yeah,
It's not going to, but it
exactly.
deserves.
It deserves to win. It deserves to win a lot of Oscars this year. It won't win because it's very arty. I don't know. It's the production design, it's the costume design, it's the makeup, it's the storytelling. But as a film, I don't know whether it can beat something that has a lot more soul than it does. Okay, you have The Imitation Game, which is a good movie, but Yeah.
No, as we said, it's a flat
strictly
documentary
good
thing.
documentary movie. Yeah, if it was in the documentary segment, it probably might win, right? But not in the movie of the year. Selma, fuck no. Okay. Theory of Everything. Again, very documentaries, great actors, great performances as an entire package together. No, actually, quite boring to watch as a movie and not really as full of soul and inspiration that you would want it to be. Okay, so I don't think it would clinch the Oscars this year. Now, Whiplash, this is my personal favorite of the lot, which might not win, but I would be really surprised and happy if it does. Okay, Whiplash is this movie I have been raving about. Because the first time I saw it, I actually put it on loop and saw it again. Then I woke up the next morning and I saw it again. I've watched the ending 3 times already, and I actually can't get over this movie. So for me, Whiplash, Grand Budapest Hotel and Birdman are the 3 true contenders of this year. And I think Birdman would take away Best Motion Picture of the Year purely for the reason that it has brilliance in every aspect of filmmaking put together. Okay? Way ahead of Grand Budapest Hotel and Whiplash, which are on their own brilliant movies together too. What do you think?
You know what, in this entire list, I think one movie is very present by its absence, and that would be Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler deserves to be in here, doesn't deserve to win, but it definitely deserved a Best Oscar nod. I don't know why it's not in here. It has been mentioned by many people.
I would put Nightcrawler ahead of American Sniper.
I would too.
Yeah. So it's very
Definitely.
surprising that Nightcrawler wasn't nominated and American Sniper was.
And
So-
having said that, for me,
And I'm saying that despite being a hardcore Clint Eastwood fan, okay, I have posters of Clint Eastwood movies, all his movies on my walls. I have a poster of Clint Eastwood in my house, and I'm saying that American Sniper does not deserve an Oscar. That says a lot.
and coming down to the who wins what, sorry. And you know what, between all these movies, I feel for me the race is between Boyhood and Birdman, and that is it. That is the only 2 film race that is there, and Birdman still wins. But I don't think there's anything else that has been considered here.
So I think, given our votes together, we would put Birdman as the top contender
Birdman
for the
is-
Oscar this year. What do you think? Which movie will win the Oscar this year? Which movie is worth it, and why? Leave your comment below, write to us, and let us know what do you think. Please like, subscribe, and share our channel to keep our honest reviews, unbiased reviews, which usually get banned by production houses for being honest, still alive.
Watch our channel, subscribe if you want to see our reactions post the Oscar shows, so that we know what was right, what you can call us on our bullshit if we were right, if we were wrong, and if you are right on every single count, we're gonna throw each other a party and you can join in. And the subscribe button's right there, you can click on it.
Click, 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 click. See ya.